My name is Marsha Ivins. I am a retired U.S. astronaut. I retired from NASA at the end of 2010 after spending 37 years working for NASA and 27 of them in the astronaut office. I had the opportunity to fly 5 times in space on the space shuttle. And now that I'm retired, I'm sort of not doing a whole lot of everything else. This trip to New Zealand was a bonus trip. I've been asked to come and give lectures around the country, a couple of them in support of your Starlight Festival, so I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
How do you like New Zealand?
It's beautiful. I live in Houston where it's flat and boring and humid and there are no mountains and it's lovely here. I like it here a lot.
Why have you enjoyed what you've done? So how's it been really interesting?
How have I enjoyed going to space?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard not to enjoy going to space. There have been maybe 556 people total in the whole world who have ever had the opportunity to leave the planet and go into space, and so I'm incredibly fortunate to have been one of them, and there is nothing not to enjoy about that. So it's a very complicated answer.
Yep.
How did you get into the space program?
How did I get into the space program? I was 10 years old in 1961 when in the United States we sent our first man into space, and for the next 9 years we went through the Mercury, the Gemini, the Apollo program, culminating in 6 flights to the moon where men actually walked on the moon. And I and many of the astronauts of my generation were captivated by that. And we decided that's what we would like to do. If we couldn't be an astronaut, somehow work with the space program.
So did you design the shuttles and how they operated?
No, I didn't design a shuttle. Shuttles were designed by thousands and thousands of people around the country. I had the opportunity for my first 10 years to work on what they call human factors in the space shuttle. And that's how you design a cockpit and a crew module so that people can use it. Not just so that people can use it, but people who are floating can use it and do the job that they need to do. When I was selected as an astronaut, I then had the opportunity to support other shuttle missions, whether in mission control or in Florida, getting ready to fly, and then ultimately got assigned to my own flight and went into training for my own flights. And so in between our flight missions, we go back to supporting the shuttle in some other respect.
What do you think about how science and technology has sort of progressed in the last few decades, and what do you think about its future?
I think anytime you try to do something really hard that has not been done before in any field, not just in space, in order to enable that thing that you want to do, you have to develop technology that has not been developed before. Anytime you do that, there is a huge payback for other applications to use that technology. So when we went to the moon, we had to develop miniaturization of electronics. We had to develop new computer systems. We had to develop new materials. And so there were huge spin-offs for the next decade in applying those new technologies to Earth-based applications. We haven't really done anything new in space in the last 30 or 40 years. So the advances due to technology for space have not been as large as they have been in the 60s and the 70s. But that isn't to say one day you guys don't find something in the stars that we think we absolutely must go investigate. And then in order to enable that mission, we're going to have to develop new technologies in order to do that. And that will always be a huge payback on the Earth.
Do you think communicating science in new and different ways is important?
I think it's hard to communicate an interest in science and technology by just beating somebody over the head and saying you should be interested in science and technology. I think you need something that is motivating. And so for me and my generation, the fact that we had a program taking people to the moon was motivating. Well, how did you get to be part of that? You had to go study science and technology. So finding something that is motivating, finding a planet that may support life, may be the kind of motivator that inspires young people to continue to study science so that they can be part of that new discovery.
What's your thoughts on like the political landscape and how it may be holding back space exploration? Or
Politics is always a very tricky discussion to have, no matter where you are in the world. But I tell people around the world that the challenges in spaceflight and in probably other technologies are not necessarily technical. They are political. The human species is party to a great mind that, when applied to a problem, can figure out an answer. You just have to have the will and the desire and the motivation to do that. Politics, which sadly provides funding for most of those endeavors, is what holds it back in many ways, I think. And so that's all I'll say about the political question.
All right, do you have any sort of advice or comments for people that want to achieve great things like you have, whether it's wanting to be an astronaut or just wanting to do something different?
Giving advice to people that want to achieve great things, you should achieve what makes you happy. You should achieve what inspires you and excites you and makes you want to get up in the morning and go to work or learn something. And it doesn't matter really what that is. It could be space, it could be oceans, it could be stars, it could be anything. If it's a science and a technology field, then I think it's going to be a great thing.
is there anything else you'd want to say? Future of space programs, does it lie in the hands of like SpaceX, Planetary Resources?
I think the future of space programs lies in the hands of you guys, of young people who are interested and motivated by stars and galaxies and planets and things like that, finding something and inspiring you guys to develop technology to actually allow us to do better than we can with a telescope. I think that's where the future is, because when you find, not if, but when you find something that is unexpected or unpredicted or unthought of, now we just simply have to go and figure out what that is in person. And that will drive the future of spaceflight. So over to you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.